So in this video, we will be talking about pranayama before and after examples and the changes and the benefits that you can have in your life based on what other people have had. So this is mentally, physically, emotionally, and also karmically. Hi, my name is Kira Lescu of the Eagle Institute. And before we jump into some of these stories, let's start off with what is pranayama. So pranayama is a sister science of yoga. It's actually one of the branches of yoga, but most people think of yoga as just being asana or poses. But there's 8 branches or limbs of yoga, and pranayama is one of them. And it is the breathing techniques that do specific effects to improve your well-being mentally, physically, emotionally, and also to release karma. So it's something we do with complete beginners as well as people that are working at a really advanced level. And one of the things I love, as you're going to see in these stories, is pranayama works very quickly. And it's something that you can use once you've done other techniques if you want to continue to progress quickly, or if you want to get that physical, mental, emotional well-being very quickly in less time than it takes to meditate. If you're not used to having a sitting meditation practice, this is a really good option. So let's get into the stories of the benefits that some of the people have had. Now, one of the first people I'm going to share some of their benefits with, she was going through a massive amount of changes in her life. And going through a lot of change often brings a sense of loss, a sense of grief, and also fear and uncertainty. And I think, we can all relate to that. When things are changing in big ways and really quickly, it can bring on a lot of things. And this can affect us on many levels. So when I first talked to her about it, one of her biggest things was fear of letting go of the things she was in the process of letting go of, but also fear of what's going to come next. Because when we let go of something big, or we have a big growth spurt in our life, it can put us into a zone where we don't know what's going to come next, and maybe we don't even have a clear vision of what that is going to be. And that was certainly true for her. And pranayama is very effective at working on all these levels. Now, her biggest interest was working on the fear, but also included in that was working on the karmic issues, because as she was letting go of these things, she wanted to make sure that she didn't recreate these same situations, same type of thing, but with different people, which very often happens, most of the time unintentionally. And I am sure you've experienced that. I certainly have, if I haven't completely done the work to eliminate the issues in my life. So this lady was dealing with a lot of grief and sadness, and that was translating for her into panic and in fear. Oh my God, what have I done? Or where am I going to go next? And, when you're in that in-between stage, you can want to feel like it's better to run back to where you were before instead of continue the process and moving forward. So that was her biggest motivation in doing and learning, wanting to learn pranayama. And specifically, she was doing a more advanced program, pranayama, to release karma. And so in one of our early sessions, she was having a complete emotional meltdown, had been having one, just dealing with all the changes and the loss and kind of coming to terms with some of the decisions that she'd made, and what she was seeing at that time as losses in her life. So we did some specific pranayama techniques, and within 5 minutes, she calmed back down again and was able to experience a level of just being okay in the moment that she hadn't frankly really experienced to any great extent since she was started on this journey to discover things that needed to be changed in her life. And in this case, as I said, they were karmic in nature. But what happens is when we get involved in the story or we are dealing with the deep emotion, we need something to counterbalance that and to break the patterns as well as to release all the right down to the cellular level. There is memory of what has happened, but there's also a lot of stress hormones running around the body that make it more difficult and put the brain into a state where it's a lot more fearful of going forward. So pranayama works on all those levels, and specifically the techniques I did with her, especially in the beginning, were very much geared to stopping that fight or flight response, as well as to her having a sense of, maybe I can't control and don't want to control the things and the changes that are going on in my life, but I can regulate myself. And, a little bit maybe control, but when you can regulate yourself and you can get over that fear part, it makes it a lot easier to walk forward into things where maybe you just don't know what's going to happen next. Maybe you just don't know, have that clarity of what it's going to look like for you, and to go through the process not knowing how it's going to turn out, knowing that it's going to be better, but not having to, control all the details along the way. So that's one of the really big things. The other thing is she started to progress and learn to do the techniques at deeper and deeper level. I mean, a lot of issues came up around grief and sadness and even some anger. And what pranayama does is it gives you, that meditative mind for sure, where you can observe things and know that you're not that, but it keeps you in a calm state where you can, because you're doing the breathing techniques, they're working to release and strengthen the nervous system at the same time, as well as clear the cellular level, the right down to tissues. And when I say cells, I mean like actually, the molecular level, where you're removing, the different the different hormones in your body that create a lot of fear and stress and anxiety, and are also quite tiring to deal with. And as the body gets healthier and healthier, and you have more oxygen in your body, it gets rid of all those things a lot quicker. So, I mean, it works on multiple levels. The other thing that pranayama is extremely good at, and this works on mental, physical, emotional, and also the energy body, which is the karmic level, is building our resistance to fear. So not only does it stop the fear or fight or flight response in the body, but also in our energy body, it gives us like a reserve and a strength that we can rely on to go through these difficult times. So what people don't often realize is prana, which means both breath and life force, is also an energy source for the human body. And a lot of people crave a lot of food when they're not breathing right, because the body feels like it needs more energy. So when we're going through these difficult things, the energy that we take in when we do correct prana actually fuels us to be able to do those next steps in the growth going forward in a way that's far more comfortable. So that's the thing about doing pranayama, where it really helped this lady tremendously. Now, another gentleman that I was working with, again, going through a lot of changes. Some of them, life happens, relationships end, people die, our careers change, the type of work we're doing is changing, but also we're changing and we want to do different things. And that was the case for him. So he was dealing with change on the outside as well as changes on the inside. And he'd gotten himself kind of exhausted from all of this because he was kind of stuck. He was kind of stuck in some mental and emotional ways, but he was also just exhausted from the amount of change that he had to deal with, and quite frankly, from dealing with grief. So even if we want changes to happen, there's still a process of letting go. And even when we have that clear vision where we're going next, we still go through those stages of grief. It might be short, but we still go through it. And we go through a lot of them over and over again. It's quite exhausting. And that's, exactly what happened for him. And when we started working together, his breathing was actually pretty high. If you want to know what that is, I have I have a couple videos on different techniques you can use to kind of gauge where you're at in your overall health of your breathing. His was a little on the high side, but he also was experiencing, health challenges that he hadn't before, and, weight gain that he hadn't really had before. And just overall, the amount of stress that he had to deal with was just getting to be a bit much. So we started doing some of the basic drills that we do with people in pranayama, as well as going through some of the theory. So he was doing an advanced program. He did have experience with other types of meditation and doing other styles of, things for personal growth. And almost immediately started to see relief, started to, within the first week, started to see solutions for problems, and started to, come to terms with things, just letting go and releasing a lot of the grief that had been trapped in his body, just from a chemical level. I mean hormonal level. So when all of this is in our body, it makes it really difficult to be happy and to feel good. And when we're happy and we feel good, we make better decisions. So what happens is we increase the amount of oxygen in the body. That helps calm the nervous system down. But it also, the deeper breathing physically removes some of the stuff from our body. So whether that be, physical waste from, when we're eating in our digestion, but it also works on the endocrine system and, like I said, the hormonal system, to mop up all the stuff that's in the bloodstream and remove it and purify it and get it out of the body quickly and replace that with some really fresh, clean oxygen. So within a few weeks, he was already starting to see tremendous benefits in terms of the types of ideas that he was having that were going to be genuine solutions to some of his problems, as well as feeling a lot less of the grief and anger and overwhelm. And as he's progressing, he's already had some insights on, wow, you know what? I can't believe that I actually thought XYZ was going to work in a relationship and in a business situation as well. So 2 insights that he's had, that just from doing the pranayama techniques, being able to think differently, but clearing some of those patterns, mental and emotionally, allows you to see things differently and get different results. And he's already on the path to making changes on those things and hasn't even been doing the techniques for that long. So one of the biggest things that pranayama, and one of my own personal interests in wanting to learn to do this, is in overcoming fear. So one of the people that I've trained the longest on doing this was very interested in overcoming fear. And her fears, she intellectually knew that they were unreasonable. They were very visceral, meaning they were very much physical in the body, and mental, as well as mental and emotional. But the body was really responding in a fearful way to things that really shouldn't have been creating a lot of fear, certainly not the degree that she was experiencing. Maybe they should have been like a 2 out of 10, and she was experiencing them like 10, 10, 10, 10 almost all the time. And in her case, definitely it was karmic. Some of it related to childhood experiences and experiences as a teenager, but in all likelihood, it was in her family as well. Definitely those patterns were from previous generations, but she also had memories when she was starting to do these techniques of other lives where she'd experienced these things. So this were definitely past life, this life, family, karmic, all of it together. And she was fed up. She's like, you know what? I'm better than this. I'm not using my talents to the level that I'm capable of and giving to the world in the way I'm capable of, and not receiving the kind of life that I've designed and envisioned for myself. And for her to do that, building the pranic body through pranayama and releasing some of these physical remnants of things that had happened, and grief from things and memories of things that had happened in this lifetime, made tremendous difference for her. In fact, it made all the difference for her. So things that she never dreamed that she would be able to do, she was doing within months. And at first it was fearful. And the more pranayama she did, she was like, I don't even know why, like, it didn't even make sense. She couldn't even relate to her feelings prior to having started the advanced pranayama techniques. And again, this person did have a meditation background and had some experience with yoga. So she was familiar in a style of yoga that actually taught breathing techniques. So it was fairly easy for her to go into some of the more advanced styles of pranayama. And within, 4 months, she had broken through things that were barriers in terms of saying no to people. She didn't realize that she was saying yes to things and saying yes to situations that had a very low chance of working. And of course, then that sets up disappointment. So she was able to have the wherewithal and the emotional and mental resilience to say, no, I'm not going to do this, or this isn't really going to work, or negotiate a lot on her own behalf without going into that fear place, which she always had felt before when she had asked for things. So she also made tremendous progress on recognizing things in terms of relationships, whether they were personal or business, boundaries that she was not setting appropriately. So she was able to set a lot of boundaries that were much healthier and much more appropriate. And that's definitely something that pranayama does, because we have an energy body. And when that energy body is got sections of it that are weak, we let in things, people, situations that are not appropriate. And when that energy body gets strengthened, first of all, it's really easy to say no. And second of all, those people stop being attracted to us because they know they can't get to us. Like they know, there's just no chance I'm going to go there. So they just stop trying. And for her, that was the last piece in being able to do the things that she really wanted to do and start asking for things more and expecting that she was going to get the results she wanted, instead of, being weird or disappointing or having to give up too much on her side to get the things that she really wanted. So doing the pranayama techniques, she'd been working on this issue for, years, decades, and had made some progress, but made more progress in 6 months with pranayama than she had made in more than 25 years of just doing it with intention and doing some of the other meditation styles that she'd done before. So those are some examples of mental, physical, and emotional, as well as the karmic overcoming patterns that you just don't want in your life. And that's all karma is. It's a pattern that it's getting in your way of getting the things that you want for whatever reason. And pranayama is very effective at dealing with it on all of those levels. So we have lots of other videos. I've got a whole series now on pranayama, how to do it, what some of the benefits are. Not all the techniques, because honestly, there's more than 400 different techniques. So obviously we can't teach all of that. A lot of it needs two-way feedback, which, like anything, you can only learn so much from one-way contact, getting feedback and also getting the right techniques to solve the particular problems that you want to solve once you get past the beginner level. So we have lots of resources on our website, not only on pranayama, but there are actually 7 different ways that you can work with your consciousness and work with your karma. And we cover all 7 of them. And there's a free download on the website if you want to go look at that, as well as check out some of our other free resources that we have there. We have programs for releasing karma and for doing pranayama, whether it's just for health, mental, emotional, physical health, or for releasing karma. We have lots of programs. We talk about them on the website. And if you know what, I just really need help on this, we do have ways that you can get in touch with us. We have a free evaluation that we can do for people, that you can identify where you're at and figure out what your next best steps are to move forward with any of these issues. This again, my name's Kira Lesky of the Eagle Institute, and leave your comments below, leave your questions below. I'll answer them, or I will do future videos on them. And don't forget to subscribe and give us a like for this video if you thought it was helpful.